watching some animated movies, which reminds me, we started a new series called Animated. Do you guys like animated movies? One of my favorites is Moana. I also love the classic The Lion King. If you've ever gotten a little emotional during your favorite Disney or Pixar movie, you know animation is a powerful tool to not only tell big stories, but to make us feel those big feelings too. In this 4-week series, we're going to look at some of the stories of the Old Testament prophets. As we explore some of these big feelings, these stories will remind us that God cares about these feelings. But with God, we can feel secure, comforted, valued, and loved, even when our emotions tell us otherwise. Today's prophet is Jeremiah. We're going to be taking a look at Jeremiah 18, 1 through 11. But before we take a look, I want to show you this quick clip of this animated movie, Raya and the Last Dragon.
I love you, my Deirdre.
No!
In this movie, Raya and the Last Dragon, Raya had revealed where the dragon gemstone was to someone she thought she could trust. And as a result, her village was destroyed and her father was turned to stone. She was probably very sad. She was showing some big emotions. Animated can mean something like the movie we just saw, but it can also mean to show big emotions. We're talking about a prophet today that was really animated. In fact, he showed such big emotions. His nickname was the Weeping Prophet. Jeremiah wrote the book of Jeremiah that we're going to be checking out. And he was a prophet. Prophets were people that shared God's truth. And the truth that God gave to Jeremiah to share made Jeremiah really, really sad. Just think about when Mufasa dies and Simba finds out. That's sad. God's message to Jeremiah was about how God's people had messed up. Not only had they done wrong, but they kept doing it. And now God told Jeremiah there would be consequences for their wrongdoing. We're going to be reading this story, and it's from Jeremiah's point of view. Go ahead, stop here, turn to Jeremiah 18, and let's read 1 through 4. God told Jeremiah to go to the potter's house. And there was a guy making a pot out of clay and forming it into lumps. Let's go ahead and continue reading this story, Jeremiah 18, 5 through 11. God compared the clay in the potter's hand to God's people in God's hand. God wanted to remind Jeremiah that even though there would be consequences, God's people were still in God's hands. God was shaping and molding them like a potter does with clay. God wants the very best for us. It was okay for Jeremiah to feel sad about what God was showing him, but because of the picture of us being like clay in God's caring hands, Jeremiah could also feel another big feeling. Jeremiah could feel secure, which reminds me of our main point. Go ahead and read it out loud. Let's go ahead and read Psalms 139, 13 through 14. It says, "You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it." God created each of us. God has been involved in our life since the very beginning, and God thinks you are awesome. Thinks you're so cool. Think about the potter and the clay. Who knows that pot more than the person forming the pot? What would it be like if you had to carry this Play-Doh all the time? You'd be really close to this Play-Doh if you had to hold it every moment of the day, right? You would think about it all the time. In the same way, God is close to you and chooses to be. In fact, God wanted to be so close to you, he sent Jesus, his own kid, to come to earth as a human, to spend time with people, and died on the cross for our sin. That shows just how much God is looking out for us and loves us. Whenever you're not sure of yourself or feel like you're not enough, remember God made you and loves you exactly the way you were made. Tell yourself each day, because of God, I can feel secure. Let's go ahead and read that main point one more time. Because of God, I can feel secure. We're going to go ahead and check out our series memory verse. I hope you guys memorize it, hold it in your heart, tell us it next week. Think about the Play-Doh all week and how God has formed you to be so special, and he has great plans for you. I hope you guys have an amazing week and see you next week. Bye.
Romans chapter 15, verse 13a. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him.
It's time for today's Bible story. This story comes from the book of Jeremiah chapter 18. The story begins with Jeremiah, who was a prophet. That means he listened to God and told other people what God said to him. One day, God told Jeremiah to go to the house of a potter. A potter is a person who works with clay and makes all kinds of pottery, like bowls, cups, and other things. The potter uses their hands and the potter's wheel. The potter's wheel is controlled by the potter's feet. As it spins, the potter shapes the clay carefully. As Jeremiah watched the potter working, he saw that the potter was having trouble with the clay. What he was trying to make was ruined. Instead of throwing the clay away, the potter simply and patiently used the same clay to form something else. God showed Jeremiah what was happening at the potter's house to show him that people are like clay in God's hands. We sometimes make mistakes and things don't go the way that they're supposed to. But God does not give up on us. When we say sorry for what we've done and follow God's directions, God continues to work with us and helps us become the best we can be. And we get to be shaped by God's own hands. And that is the safest and most secure place to be. Because of God, I can feel secure.